Animals have the capacity to appreciate kindness, sometimes more than humans. They remember when a person helped them, and they try to repay that person with a good deed of their own, even if it goes against their animal instincts. That is what our story is about today. Mark and Maria met at university. They both studied to be doctors and dreamed of going into the remote taiga to treat the villagers there. Few others can say they would want to do such a thing, but that is what brought these young people together. After graduation, they got married and went together to the village on the outskirts of the taiga forest where medical workers were needed at the small local hospital. Settling in, the young couple got to work. When Maria wasn't at the hospital, she would take care of the house, and when Mark wasn't practicing medicine, he studied hunting skills with a local huntsman. Once, Mark went out into the forest to hunt small game when he suddenly saw a little wolf pup on the ground. It did not run away from the man, but lay still and whined plaintively. Coming closer, Mark saw red spots on the ground. The young animal was clearly injured. Mark gently took him into his arms and brought him home to give him first aid. Back at the house, Mark and his wife carefully examined the wolf pup's wounds. He was most likely attacked by a wild boar. There was a large wound on his stomach, and his ear had been torn off. After applying stitches and bandages, Maria laid the pup on a blanket near the fire and then sat with him all night, comforting him whenever he whimpered. As time passed, the wolf pup's wounds healed. He even looked quite endearing with just the one ear, which stuck straight up, so he earned the name Ear. When Ear grew larger, Mark built an exercise pen for him in which he could run without being put on a chain. However, even this restriction of freedom had a bad effect on the wild animal. Despite the kindness of his owners, the wolf howled more and more often at night, refused to eat, and looked longingly towards the forest. After some discussion, Mark and Maria decided to let him go. Ear ran without looking back. It seemed like it was the happiest moment in his life. Several years passed, and Mark and Maria had begun to even forget that they once sheltered a wolf pup. One winter, Mark went to hunt in the forest for small game. He spent the day in the forest. When he shot a hare, the man left his path to collect the prey, but at that very moment he heard a sharp click, and then his whole body was paralyzed from terrible pain. He fell into a hunting trap, which was set by poachers for a large animal. Mark assessed the situation. His leg was still intact, but it was clearly fractured. He realized that he could not reach the house in such a condition, as the deep snow made it impossible to move on one leg. So the man decided to crawl. It would be slow going, but sooner or later he would make it home. The main thing was to not stop moving, so as not to freeze. At that moment, somewhere very close to him, he heard a long howl. The man got so frightened as he realized that there were wolves nearby. He turned back and saw wolves coming out of the thicket one by one and started surrounding him from different sides. The biggest wolf walked around Mark and stood in front of him, just a few steps away. He looked at the man as if assessing the situation. Then he started sniffing the air. Mark looked at him and then noticed something was off about this wolf. He had a huge, strong body, piercing yellow eyes, and just one ear. This was Ear. The man whispered, "Ear, Ear, it is you. I recognize you. Do you remember me?" The wolf came closer, sniffed, then came even closer. Mark became scared that he was mistaken. There could be many one-eared wolves in the forest. He closed his eyes in anticipation of an attack. Then he felt hot breath near his face, and a warm, wet tongue licked his cheek. It was him, the wolf that he and Maria had saved a few years ago. The wolf growled menacingly at the other wolves, driving them away from the man lying in the snow, and they moved away from the path. Mark crawled on, and Ear slowly followed him, guarding him from predators. So he accompanied the man to the village, and then disappeared back into the forest. Mark's leg healed over time, and the warmth in his heart remained with him until the end of his life. Friends, this story shows us how a selfless desire to assist a helpless creature saved a person's life later on. Good deeds always come back, especially when you do not expect them to.